Ukraine's Foreign Minister, Dmytro Kuleba, made his inaugural visit to India since the Russian invasion of Ukraine. His primary aim is to reduce India's ties with Russia as Russia escalates its military actions in Ukraine. In efforts to achieve peace, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky proposed a peace formula, urging the withdrawal of Russian forces, with Kyiv planning to convene a peace conference involving global leaders but excluding Russia. Despite Ukraine's outreach to India and other countries in the global south for support, India remains neutral in the conflict, maintaining its trade relations with Russia, which is a significant oil supplier and arms provider. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi advocates for dialogue between Moscow and Kyiv, striving to mediate a resolution to the ongoing conflict.
This is for the first time that a top Ukrainian official is visiting India after the war in Ukraine started over 2 years ago. Now, while on paper, the agenda really says that he's here to talk about bilateral partnership, also cooperation in regional and global issues, but really, what experts believe is that the Ukraine official is here to lobby for India's support in the upcoming peace talks that will take place in Switzerland later in the summer. Now, it's clear that after all the criticism that Ukraine had for India, it looks like Ukraine has realized that if there's anybody who can broker peace in this conflict, it is India. Also that Russia has an upper hand in the war, and for now it needs India, who has, remember, close, strong ties with Moscow, to influence them to talk peace. Unlike the West that has always fixated on using arms and ammunition in this conflict, India has always maintained that a peaceful resolution is only possible through dialogue and diplomacy.
We took the position from the start that you are not going to get a solution to this conflict on the battlefield. 2 years have passed. There were many who felt 2 years ago, or somewhere in between, that maybe they could. I think today many of them don't any longer. If one sees, in this day and age what conflicts bring, there are actually no winners in a conflict.
That's India's foreign policy, independent foreign policy of neutrality. India, remember, from the very beginning of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, said that India is not going to take sides. India is going to be neutral. Now, despite the West pressurizing India to cut ties with Moscow, what India did was India stood by its old friend. The trade between the two countries, India and Russia, has only gone up. Let's talk oil here. The West had problems with India buying more and more oil from Moscow, but India said that India will do what suits India the best, despite sanctions and despite the traditional way of doing business thrown away. India found solutions, and India continued to buy more and more oil.
Had we not stood our ground about buying energy from Russia, very frankly, all of you would be paying much more for your energy, because more countries would have gone into a narrow set of suppliers and actually raised the world's energy prices. So if I looked at it from the perspective of the global economy, and frankly, obviously from my own perspective, we actually did the right thing. So this ability to think for yourself, to be comfortable with your identity, to be proud of your civilization, to be appreciative of your own history.
Now remember, India had talks with both Ukraine as well as Russia, and this after the Russian president was re-elected. So a week ago, the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, he dialed Moscow. He in fact had a word with Putin. He also had a word with the Ukrainian president, and as far as top officials in the government of India are concerned, they have confirmed to me that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been invited by both sides to visit their countries respectively after the elections in India. So the results of the Indian elections are going to come in first week of June. So sometime after that, India is invited in both countries. Why? Perhaps because slowly it's being made very clear that if somebody has the power to broker peace, it is India, because it has maintained its relationship with Moscow that, remember, West did not want. So becoming really clearer, by the way, that if there is a country in the world that is a peacemaker, a stabilizing force globally, that is India.